Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this exciting live Q&A session organized by Human Resources Online in partnership with Maybank. My name is Aditi. I'm the editor-in-chief of Human Resources Online, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all here from all different parts of Asia that you're joining us. You took out the time to be here with us during this session today, and we're so glad to welcome you on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Why don't you head over to the chat, say a quick hi to us so we can see some of your messages coming in, and let us know which part of the world, which part of the region you're joining us from today. We'd love to make this session as interactive as possible, and hopefully you go away with some new friends that you've made as well today. So let's have a look and see if we have any of you saying hi on the chat. We do have a few people requesting for the link. So thank you so much. I hope you're able to find the link. Thanks so much for joining us. And once again, a very, very good afternoon. Now, we're all here for one thing, and that is to learn about how Maybank is bringing the future of work to life. Much before the pandemic, it was back in 2013, Maybank was actually one of the first Southeast Asian employers to formalize flexible working. And as of December 2021, last year, it has about 4,800 mobile employees, be it on a permanent work from home policy or through its mobile work arrangement. So, of course, when one of Maybank's largest employers decides that the future of work lies in a hybrid workforce, we stand up to take notice for what we call, or what Maybank calls, the Maybank Hybrid World. So that's why we're putting Datuk Nora Manaf, Group Chief Human Capital Officer of Maybank, in the spotlight today to talk us through some of her highlights of this journey, share with us some of the challenges she has faced, and hopefully all of you can join us in the chat. Send us some of your questions as well as Datuk Nora joins us on stage. A very good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Aditi. It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
It's truly our pleasure and honor as well. So let's get straight into it. Now, I think the first thing I really want to ask you is 2022. Here we are. And I know that it is the year of hybrid work for Maybank. What is really your thought process behind this policy, behind this philosophy? And I know that you've just opened your alternate working site, which is the Mercu Maybank site as well. So just to have that option open beyond business continuity. So talk us through a little bit about what these plans entail for you this year.
Well, I hope, Aditi, for a start, I hope hybrid workforce is not just what we want, but I hope it's what everybody else wants too. That's important because we don't live in a bubble. And whatever we want to make work for our workforce, for Maybankers, for the 43,000 Maybankers, it can only truly work and meet its full intentions if our ecosystem is together with us, right? So I think that's my first message. I really, welcome anyone who comes into this conversation because you're actually leaning in to make sure that we all are in this together and make it work for all of us. So to your question, I think, as you said, we started back in 2013 to formalize the flexible policy. But our first case, which some of the attendees might have heard me share before as well, our first case of a flexible workforce was way back in 2009 even, right? So for us, it's a journey. For 2022, what we're excited about is being able to take it to the next level, right? And what is the next level? So we are driven by the why. I know it can sound very cliched, but it is so critical. You have to be opportunistic. We had to be opportunistic. We knew what our intentions were in 2009, in 2013, in 2018. Those are milestones for us in the progression of a hybrid workforce. But we couldn't go all out and big bang, Aditi, right? Because the readiness wasn't there and so forth. So it's about being opportunistic positively and constructively opportunistic, determined because we are driven by the why, right? And for us and for everyone else, right, the why can be different, but all bringing us to the same aligned intentions of wanting to, for one, solve our talent problems, isn't it? Right? We've been talking about the bits and pieces. We've tried different pieces, right? We've talked about bringing women back to the workforce. We've talked about bringing the diversities back into the workforce and so forth. But it cannot work if it's done in bits and pieces, right? So for us, number one, yes, wanting to ensure that we truly, truly are able to reach out to all the different skills and talents that we need. Number two, make sure that we continue to be able to transform our business model as our ecosystem again transforms, right? And make sure that we continue to show our increase in profitability year on year, right? And we can't achieve that if our other infrastructure remains stagnant, especially workforce management, right? And I mentioned about the business model. I think all of us coming out from the COVID lessons and COVID experiences, the pain, please don't let the crisis go to waste, right? The pain, the lives lost, do not let it go to waste. We have to ensure that we find this different model which is sustainable, right? And we are all, I think, we've signed in blood to make sure that the UN SDG objectives are met, right? We can only do that if we continue to persist and find the what, the how, right? The how and the what's to achieve the why. Now, I'm keeping this conversation at that level first because it is all about the why, right? And the why could be that you've been trying a business that's been trying to improve your profitability, right? As Einstein says, if you're not looking at anything drastically, significantly different, then you're insane if you think 2022 is going to be any different, right? So that's one. The other is you have a problem attracting uh, uh, people with scarce talent with scarce skills, right? What's going to change if you don't offer something different, right? So your why can transcend any different reasons. So I think that's important for us, Aditi, to your question. We are all excited. We're excited to bring more into our proposition to benefit the business and to benefit our partners in the businesses, the managers and so forth. Having Mercu, yes, we've taken up 160,000 square feet more, right? And people were talking about, the probability because of COVID and more people are working from home, that there will be properties let go. But for us, it is an opportunity for us to offer better layouts for the well-being of our people and for better productivity, right? At the same time ensuring that we are as ready as we can. I mean, we'll never be ready, totally ready, but as ready as we can for the next crisis, right? That may hit us. So yes, it's all engines going right, and making sure that every aspect is being looked at. For a start, I think, Aditi.
Oh, that's a heavy start, I must say. And you've got your plate full. What I especially love is just how strongly you're able to link what you are trying to achieve for this 2022 year of the hybrid work very much back to the business transformation, very much back to the business model. Not just to show an increase in the profitability, but also to achieve the UN's sustainable goals as well. So it's very much a business imperative rather than being driven solely by the human capital unit in a way, which I think is really inspiring for all of us. So thanks for sharing, about that. Now, with all of these changes underway, what does it sort of entail on the ground, for your workforce? What are some of the highlights of the initiatives that you might be rolling out or have already rolled out for them?
Well, I think it's about making sure. Go again. What I always tell the team is, if we are not careful, we can fall in love with wanting to, push out programs after programs, and then not being able to, connect them and make sure that the benefits are truly derived. So one of the first things is making sure that we actually derive the benefits from what we've done. Now, it's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of people are wishing for the days pre-COVID. Still, right? Waiting for the earliest opportunity to just go back to office, and hoping that things are going to be as it was. So it's about making sure that we are there with handrails to ensure that people get into the new habit, right? And that's a full-time job for many people, like I said, because there's different interventions needed and so forth. So giving them handrails and encouraging them to get the experience before giving up right from the very start, right? And in doing so, we need to balance. I mean, the old adage of carrot and stick, actually, with some customization is key, right? The carrots as to how to why I should pursue this, right? And showing, and that's a full-time job again, communications, right? Communicating the early benefits, the low-hanging fruits that have been achieved. And so those are the carrots. Now, but we also need to monitor and track to ensure that people are not disadvantaged. Should, if they have taken on the work from home, for example, which, like as you mentioned, we call the mobile, right? Mobile categories, that they truly are not going to be at a disadvantage for opportunities and careers and so forth, career progression and so forth. So that continues, and it is a very big part of what we're trying to do. Secondly, then, is to truly ensure that we understand how to put together teams, right? And making sure that the diversity that we want is supported and enabled, right? What do I mean by that? A simple example is a manager who secretly still, wants all staff to be on site, right? And so, unwanted things might happen, right? Those who are on mobile might be moving out. So we actually have to monitor all of that. So the tracking, and then making sure that the curation of the platforms for that diversity to work happens. So these are things that are lined up, if you like, for the year, to make sure that, because I'm sitting here sweating every time I talk about this, right? And my palms are sweating, because I do have to ensure that we actually are able to show the benefits. And as a business entity, it's the financials that actually count. And maybe a quick segue, because you did reinforce what I said earlier about making sure we are profitable. This is a message that I have said before in some of my other platforms, but I never tire saying it, because it's so important, and I have to repeat it here again. For us, being able to remain profitable is important. Why? Because we're not mercenaries, right? Because we want to make sure our Maybankers are able to sustain themselves, but they can also then help others, right? The community, their families, and so forth. So that is the mindset. That's the why, right? That drives people to really want to do more than what they're being asked to do. So it's it's really towards that, making sure that we are able to demonstrate that. Now, the other aspect, of course, and I'm jumping the gun here, I suppose, is the well-being, the total well-being support that we need to ensure is in place. So, as you may know, because it was in my in one of my interview articles that I think you wrote.
Yes.
We talked, yeah, we talked about how in 2020 itself, we decided to go really big because we knew that, right, the pressures are going to be significant. So we got 80 of our staff certified as mental health first aiders, right? And in addition to that, right, a whole suite of support systems was put in place as well. So those are really going to help, I think, us materialize the benefits that we have planned for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Extremely valuable to actually get that insight into some of the highlights you've experienced. And also, you mentioned how it's not easy. There's so much going around the mindset. Like you said, some people just want things to go back the way they were before COVID.
Yeah.
So, absolutely interesting to hear about some of the hiccups, which every journey has as well. And yes, I did have a question in there about well-being. So I'm going to jump to that before I come back to you on virtually engaging your workforce. So, mental health, I know, is a huge part of what you've already been doing, and you've kind of boosted your focus on that in the past, few years as well, to really talk about the holistic total well-being. Share with us some of the initiatives you've been doing. I know you've had the mental health first aiders, which was a new concept that we heard about. How's the employee response been, and what kind of results had you been looking for? Have you achieved those?
Aditi, we went into a phase where we had certified practitioners question us, why do you do this? We are qualified, right? So send them to us, right? Now I'm taking this opportunity to explain what the why of what we do again. So whatever we put together with on the what and the how is always linked to the why, right? So for us, we the idea of a sustainable solution is not to even give someone time out who's having mental health pressures, not to give them time out and just send them off to get help out, external help, right? Because at the end of the day, that is not sustainable, because sometimes the cost is outside work, right? So what we have in mind is to ensure the person, the talent, continues to be a productive talent. Now, so because of that, we are investing a lot more in making sure the person can continue to be productive and supported at the workplace rather than being sent away. So get well and then come back, right? Now
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not, yeah, that doesn't help, right? So that's the reason why, right? And so, and really, what, and this is, backed by data. Many of the people having these challenges, right, it's very hard for them to get truly better when their income is jeopardized. So financial well-being is actually at the root of being able to be of achieving true recovery. So and that actually is our business mindset as well, right? Our business model. So for our staff, right, and we have examples of how we've had individuals who were quite bad, attempted suicide even, who's now, a excellent performer. One has been promoted as yeah, I shouldn't mention it, but as a CEO of one of our units, but I don't think we could have achieved that if we had just outsourced. the support. So we've got the whole suite. We've got the hashtag We Care support channel that's on Telegram. We have the Let's Talk It Out, right? Live sessions, webinar because of COVID. And then support groups, right? Also being enabled by our full-time staff. So that's the other thing about transformation, right? For human capital, for HR, right? These are the new jobs of the future now that we are bionics, right? So again, I've got the article. I am a true believer that, what was it, 80s when we had the Bionic Woman and the Bionic Man series. Now this is truly when it's going to be live, when you and I truly are augmented, right, in our performance with the digital tools that we've got. So this is about making sure that our people are as bionic as possible, right, in the support. So in a nutshell, Aditi, we believe in inclusivity, right? And the only way for individuals who have, right, such pressures is to make them, feel included and supported, rather than being, asked to take some time off and so forth. So the right support is important too, right? It's not that we save money by doing that. We actually still provide the psychiatric help, right?
Yeah.
And the psychologist support. But in addition to that, there is the internal support system.
That's incredible, because it also adds that sort of layer of accountability and ownership. It's not for the management to take action or for HR to take action, but me as an employee, I can contribute to my fellow colleague feeling better tomorrow, rather than taking a week off and still kind of you know having that thunderstorm looming over you.
Yeah.
So I think it really does add to that sense of ownership and responsibility towards building the culture together as well. So it is a very inspiring work that you are doing on that. And I'm sure the inclusivity and support has truly helped many individuals sort of come out of the difficult times they were going through. All right, so the next question I have, and just before I ask you that, I want to thank all of you who are joining us today as members of the audience. We hope you're enjoying the conversation. And if you have any are welcome to send them over in the chat. I will be heading over to the chat in just perhaps 10 minutes from now. So feel free to start sharing your questions with us, and we hope you're enjoying the conversation. All right, so back to my questions, of which I have several. Uh, so the next one is around virtual engagement. One of the things you said about building a mobile workforce is to ensure that there is no disadvantage to being a mobile employee or to being a physical employee. Everyone should have that seamless, ability to be productive. So, what are some of the virtual engagements that you are doing so that both on-site and mobile employees can interact, collaborate, be productive, no matter what their location is?
Right. So I did it before. I guess it's going to be a normal thing for us to. I call it the go back in and then go out. That's
Okay.
our business continuity management strategy, right? So because our Omicron numbers over the last few days, I think it could be because of our long break, right? Our long holidays.
Yes.
It's now I think past 11,000. So we immediately activated our go back in, right? So, but prior to this, I was pushing, and we wanted to get better and better at experiencing how to operate in a hybrid world, right? Meta, right?
Yes.
So, so prior and it will come back, right? I think, like I said, we pivot in and out, right? Uh, we ensure it truly is hybrid. So we do take pains to say, okay, let's set up this in person, and how do we make sure the in person conversations is shared with our virtual participants and so forth. So those we take pains to think about how to make that work. And we conduct, for example, our town hall sessions that way as well. And that's across 16 countries, right? So, and attendees has always been very good. Now, if it's pure virtual, so when it's like majority are back in, right? That's when we ramp up our virtual platforms like our Happy Zoom, literally Happy Zoom, right? Um, uh, we've had multiple, and it's a discipline, it's a full-time job, as I said, again, another new full-time job, right? To ensure that the curation of, how there are very, very prominent non-supporters of work from home who have said that, as we've heard, right, who have said that, hey, how do you do the impromptu walk-ins to offices to talk, and then the water cooler conversations and so forth. Well, we curate those, right? And those can be via our Happy Zooms or our drop-in sessions, and so forth. I am enjoying it, Aditi. I'm actually enjoying it, right? I never thought I would enjoy it before COVID hit us. Now, but you see, I also enjoy in person. That's
Yeah.
true diversity and inclusivity, isn't it? So that's what I mean when there is a need to, we should curate such that a group of people will be in person, allowing those who at that point of time would rather come in via our devices, right? So those has to be a norm, right? And we do it consciously, like our um, customary and mandatory lion dance, right? We are going to still have it this week, and
Wow.
yes, we are. It has to, right? It has to be. So,
Yeah, I
um,
miss it.
yes. So we will ensure. So it's almost normal, right? People know exactly SOP. This is what we're going to be doing, but it can be done. And our data, by the way, Aditi, I'm proud of our data. We track, right? Every day I get my dashboard, positive cases, secondary, and so forth, right? The our ratio based on our population is significantly low, and that's a good indicator of the discipline. And but the best part is 90% of those who do get infected. I mean, you'll be living in a cave if you're, if
Yeah.
you, yeah, you're totally protected, right? But
Yes.
90% of our staff who get infected are not work from office people, and yeah, and hence they actually were exposed outside. So whenever
Yeah.
people come to our offices, the data tells you that it is safe, right? And
Yeah.
the curation is done well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you have that data on hand, and it's very very valuable to see just how that trend has been working out. So I do appreciate the thought behind it. That conscious curation of those sessions. For example, the drop-ins, the happy Zoom. Uh, like you said, it's become a way of life, just like the
Yeah.
SOPs have become a way of life for many of us. So great to see you, sharing those points. And I do have a fantastic question that we've just received from Vishal. Vishal, thanks so much for joining today and for sharing your question with us. Here we go, Datuk Nora, this is for you. How do you ensure there are enough platforms for social connect and memories are getting formed?
Wow. Yes, I love that question, Michelle. um, for one, we've all got a fabulous tool to store our memories, right? And that's Facebook or Instagram. And you will see plenty of those from Maybankers, right? We just, and I say we because I do it too, right? that is a fabulous way for me to keep connected with Maybankers. People that I don't know or people I've not met for a few years now, will just pop in and tell me, hey, I love Arwin. Arwin's my granddaughter. I love Arwin's shoes the pictures that I post. So, my goodness, I'm a true convert of, digitalization, right? I could not have achieved that if we hadn't, right? My goodness,
Yeah.
I mean, how are they going to know what I'm doing today? Now I can just post it and everybody knows, what my challenges are today. I get wonderful notes when I didn't say I was sick really, but I had flu and cough, right? And I had so many well wishes and so. Maybankers do that, right? Because of the practice we've given them and the platforms we've given them. I think they love it when we continue to organize these sessions. It
Yeah.
gives them the opportunity to capture, as you say, Vishal, capture photos and conversations and then post it, right? That's I think the way of life today and in the future, right? We create the platforms, they will do the viraling, if you like.
Yes. Well, that's good, right? You crowdsource your engagement work across the workforce, isn't it? All right. Well, thanks once again for that great question, Vishal. Our next question is coming into us from Aisha. A great series of questions. I appreciate that. Let's tackle your first one first. Now, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier about people who are wishing to kind of go back to life as we knew it before. They aren't much in favor of the whole hybrid thing. So Aisha's question is, how do you manage the managers who still secretly want to have employees be on site, even though working remotely has actually been working for them?
Yes, Aisha, that is absolutely real, right? However, I know I shook my head because then you know where I stand. But I have to discipline myself to also be inclusive, right? And so, we're not trying to turn everybody into work from homers, right? If we truly believe in diversity and inclusivity. So I understand them, right? Um, However, we make it very clear, and that's why I say the carrot and the stick thing, right? We make it very clear that it is a group policy that we allow hybrid workers, right? Workers, the flex workforce. We allow, right, people to choose their management model. And when I mention management model, is the 2 day in the office and 3 day at home and so forth, right? Um, and they are not to be treated any differently. There shouldn't be bias and so forth. So we make sure they know we are watching, right? And then at the same time, I know that we would have. It's going to be very difficult to try to monitor every level. So we've got a support center, call center, mend again a new job that will stay in the future. Uh, Actually, it's 24/7 because it's their mobile phones, right? And it's provided by the organization. They take calls. So we told them, right? Should you find yourself in any situation where you feel that you are being treated unfairly, call this number and we will take care of it from there on, right? You know, the we started this support call center early in the COVID experience because before the lockdowns happened, right? We actually were the first when we said if someone around you has been infected, you stay home. Okay, we actually made that stand. Now I received and my team received a lot of flack for that, right? Managers were annoyed and saying, how could you say that, right?
Yeah.
People are not going to be coming to work, right? So excuse me, so that call center was set up to say, if your colleague is infected and you want to stay home and your manager doesn't allow it, you stay home and call us. We'll take care of this for you. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that we ensure. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We've got about 5 minutes on the clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for sending in your questions. I'm trying to move through them as quickly as possible. So let's take this next one. Hopefully, more questions before we end today's event. Let's have a look at the next question. And this is coming to us thanks to Shafika. Shafika is asking, what kind of hybrid working are you adopting, and what are some of the challenges you face? So you have actually talked to us about what kind of hybrid working model you're adapting. Maybe you can share with us how you're overcoming that one challenge you're facing.
So
Yeah.
Shafika, what sort of flex workforce, right? So we've got, as I mentioned, um, staff who have applied and approved to be fully mobile. What that means, of course, there's some controls, right? What that means is, you see, again, nothing extreme is good. So totally not coming to the office is not good. So they have a choice. It's never 5 days at home. Okay. They have a choice of 4+1 or 2+3, as I mentioned. Right. So 1+4 means 1 day in the office, 1 day equivalent. Even then, because again, that's what I was highlighting much earlier. The how and the what, the mechanism and the models, they are still being designed, right? I think it's important for us not to pretend to know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. If I've made a mistake, I apologize, I move on. Make sure I learn from the mistake. That is what you have to get agreement with and on if you are also from HR with your customers, okay? So what we said is directionally equivalent to 1 day in the office, but if all the person's going to do is just sit there and nobody talks to the person, nothing happens, and then the person has to, after office hours goes back, then don't, okay? Because it's just the equivalent. So make sure you show up, say hello to your manager, to your teams, and then if there's nothing for you to do there, go home, right, where you will be more productive. So this forces line managers. I'm also forcing line managers, right? I myself am guilty because on my 41st floor in the office, there are 20 people in my side of the building, right? I can't say that I actually have a conversation with all 20 at least once a month even, right? Because we are all so busy, right? Yeah. So what the heck, right? It doesn't matter if you're not there. Okay. So this is an excellent opportunity. Just now I mentioned the why, right? Some of our whys is to improve performance, right? And so performance management is about outcomes, right? Not that you're sitting there, and fiddling away and not being productive. So to answer your question, right? There's 4+1, 2+3, directionally. What we mean is you must engage in person with your manager or your team members at least once a week, at least for one forum, one platform, but curate that. So managers must learn how to manage in the new world. And that's one of it. If for the last 20 years, I've never actually planned anything except for the annual dinner, right? You have to. Yeah, you have to ensure. So we've got that category, Shafika. We also have people who have either flexed in or flexed out. This was since 2013, as I mentioned, where we have highly productive staff who have opted for 2-day work weeks, even from 2014, right? And of course, their compensation is adjusted to reflect the number of days. Now, if you ask them, they are either having a time of their life because they have, the rest of the week to do everything that they want to do. Or even spend time with the family if that's what they want to do. So that's one category. But you have another category who will tell you that they're earning much, much more. They're earning much, much more than they were when they were full time with us. Okay. And that really is something that you and I talk about in a different forum. Now we start, please connect the dots. What is it? We have problems with minimum wage, with making sure that, right, people are paid well enough to reflect and close the gap between the different levels with the highest earner, the CEO in the organization. Well, how many business can afford that, right? So we do have to explore the idea of how to ensure that people can truly utilize all their skills, all their talent, God-given talent, and do everything that they can, whilst also serving your needs, your company's needs, right? There are ways to do that, and we are exploring it, and so far, touch wood, right? Alhamdulillah, we've not had any major issue because every case goes through a governance process, quick checks, and so forth. So we've got flex workforce. By the way, for the organization, I mentioned just now fabulous flex people. What do I mean by that? Because they are so engaged, much more engaged than they were ever before when they were full time, right? With the bank. And therefore also that enables us to truly job share, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
There is a limit to what one person can do in high adrenaline mode, right? So when we share, we get the best of the two during their peak periods or peak times, if you like. So we've got that as well, Atika, Shafika, but we also have been increasing our contract and gig staff, right? We have an internal platform, crowdtivation, we call it, because we want to also enable our people to do different things in different departments and different sectors without having to give up their job and wait for the vacancy, right? So that's another flex workforce that we've got. We want to mature this soon. It's not mature yet, and so there's a need to monitor and help clear the path for such cases. But again, I'm becoming like a broken record here. But again, because I'm clear on the why, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that my team, most of my team, if not all, are all believers of the why, and we will all therefore make things work, and make sure things progress. Tafika, I hope that answers your question.
It indeed did. Thank you so much. And that passion is sure going to bring the organization far ahead. Thank you so much. I have to admit that I would love to continue the session, but unfortunately we have run out of time, and we're very much mindful of your time, Datuk Nora, as well as everybody who's joining us. A few call outs before I start sharing some of my key takeaways. Datuk Nora, Dr. Malin wishes you get well soon. She heard you coughing a little earlier, and she is saying that everything that you have shared has been absolutely on point. We do have some questions that have come in from Diana as well as from Kawe. Thank you so much for your questions, but unfortunately, since we've run out of time, we will look to get them answered for you offline on our website, humanresourcesonline.net. All thanks to Datuk Nora's input after the end of the session. So hang in there, we've noted your questions. So with that, I do want to take the opportunity to formally thank you so much for joining us today. I will make a humble attempt to try and summarize everything that you've shared in 3 quick points. I think the first thing, like you mentioned, is that performance management is about outcomes and results. It's not about who's sitting where. There's no reason to sit in the office if employees are not being productive there. And like you said, so many of them are much more engaged now than even they were before. The second thing is around creating a sustainable wellness program which allows employees to continuously be supported in their jobs. Like you mentioned, at the core of this is the financial well-being and the other pressures of missing work. So therefore, if you give people the tool to feel included and supported, it's not just about having those external programs in there, which is great, but to actually have your internal champions of that, there's nothing that can beat that. And finally, employee engagement is about curating those different employee experiences, whether you're working in person or remotely. D&I definitely extends to hybrid working, but that means offering experiences both in person as well as remotely. So we don't need everyone to turn into work from homers. We want people to have that flexibility to choose what works best for them, as long as there's that little component of in-person engagement. So with that, I hope I have done justice to
Wow.
the conversation that we had. Thank you so very much for joining us. So glad to have your nod and your affirmation on that. We hope to see you back on screen and in person once again, Datuk Nora. And thank you so much to you and the Maybank team for making this event happen. See you next time.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you.